Good morning, folks. I wanted to get started. My name is Sarah Deitch, and I'm a Customer Success Manager with Skybits. On behalf of myself and the entire Skybits team, we want to welcome all of you to week 9. Can't believe it's been 9 weeks already of Skybits Training Tuesdays. Weeks 1 through 8 are available in 2 places. One, on the Skybits YouTube channel, which I really hope that if you have access to YouTube, and you can go onto our YouTube channel. You just type in Skybits in the search and you'll see our logo. Please subscribe to our channel. Not only are there the Training Tuesday videos, all 8 weeks of them thus far, and this one will be as well, but we also have a lot of content other than Training Tuesdays and training videos. So if you want to, please just hop on over to YouTube, subscribe to the Skybits channel, and give us a look. There's a ton of really great information about the industry and about our products. So thank you to anyone who's done that so far, and please go if you have not and subscribe to our channel. And then in the help section on Insight, I will review that at the end of this session, as I always do, show you where you can find the Training Tuesdays registration, as well as Training Tuesdays videos that we have recorded. So again, I want to thank everyone for taking the hour out on a Tuesday. I hope that these sessions have improved your level of understanding within the Insight tool in order to bolster your confidence in using our best-in-class user interface to its fullest potential. We want all of our customers to access Insight, the user interface where our devices report to, in order to do many things, not just to see where your assets are, but to become more efficient and hopefully get the ROI on what you're paying for these devices within the Insight tool. You're able to do many different things. And over these past 8 weeks, we've been trying to accomplish a goal of getting people involved and utilizing their account, logging in more, logging in for the first time perhaps, and asking questions if you have any. So here's the housekeeping items that we like to review. We have muted all the participants. So everyone on the call besides myself are muted. That's just so we can prevent any extra background noise. If you have muted yourself, however, and you want to ask a question later, you have to unmute yourself. We're not able to do that if you've chosen to do that. So number one, we will just mute everybody. You don't have to do it, but if you have, in order to ask a question later out loud, you have to unmute yourself. We have factored in time for questions and answers. There are a few ways that you can ask questions throughout the presentation. If you feel the need to ask a question, you absolutely may do so and type it in the chat, type it in the question section on the go-to webinar bar, that little sidebar that has the information about the meeting. So you can do that as we're going through. If you instead of asking later out loud, you can certainly do that. The last about 15 minutes of the session, we'll have a Q&A out loud if you would like. And as I have mentioned, all of these sessions are being recorded and are available for playback via the Skybits YouTube channel. And what we've kind of been doing, so let me get into Insight. Today we're going to go over Yard Check. Yard Check is a super important part of the website. And what we've kind of been doing over the past 8 weeks is setting you up for success in utilizing other pieces of the tool. So when we talked about setting up landmarks, landmark groups, making sure you're naming. Last week we talked about installing your assets and naming them properly according to how you name them. We're kind of building up to what other features and functionality come from utilizing landmarks. Make sure you're naming your assets properly and not haphazardly. So what we're kind of doing is bringing it home here in Yard Check, especially with landmarks, landmark groups. Landmarks are the geofencing capabilities that we have that exist in Insight. We do have actually 2 weeks of videos prior that will show you how to utilize, create, and then further utilization of landmarks. So they're really important to utilizing the tool. If you have a ton of landmarks and you want to import them, you certainly can. Again, we've talked about that in previous sessions. And if you ever need assistance, once you've watched a video, given it a shot, and maybe tried to create some landmarks, tried to create some landmark groups, and maybe you just need a little bit of help, we do have a fantastic customer care department whose the team's experience is unparalleled. They know exactly how to use all of the features and all the functionality within Insight. So you can always reach out to them. Toward the end of the session, I'll put their number up, and they have an email address, of course, as well. You can ask them some questions. If you have a customer success manager assigned to your account, you'd probably know, and someone from my team would be able to help you out, of course, in utilizing setting up landmarks. So when we talk about yard checks, landmarks are a big part of that. So the yard check section is under Insight Now. We did review Insight Now in a previous session, of course. It seems like we've reviewed a lot of things, previous sessions, which is good. So now we're really going to talk about yard check. Wanted to dedicate some time to it. It's not hard to use, but it's super important. So driving home the use of yard checks is something that we definitely wanted to factor in a whole session for. Insight Now organizes customer data into dashboards. So that's what this is right here. That will give you real-time information and fleet analysis. And one of the primary functions of Insight Now is the ability to initiate the yard check. So you would go to Insight Now, click on yard check, and you'll come to this screen that I was just on. And the yard check feature allows you to perform a yard check remotely and automatically without performing physical inspection at the landmark. So that's where landmark comes in. Yards need to be created in the system as landmarks. If your units are equipped with cargo sensors, there's an added piece. The yard check can also provide details on cargo status. For example, number of empty trailers at a landmark yard. So I'm using the word landmark, but we're in yard check. But what you need to consider here is, have I put all of the yards in? Have I put my customer locations in? Have I put all kinds of places in that I want to perform how many assets are at that location? If you haven't, again, it's a good time to do that so you can start to utilize this feature and functionality because it's available to all customers. To set up the yards, again, it's setting up landmarks, and then you would go forward and utilize this feature. So when you go into Insight Now and yard check, this is where you are defaulted to. So you can do a quick search first. Now in the quick search section, you can look up landmark groups, which is a bunch of landmarks that say there are a bunch of yards. My East Coast yards, I want to put them all in a group together. You do that when you're setting up your landmarks. Another reason you'd want to put them into groups is because if you want to look them all up at once in this quick search and see what assets are at that landmark and all of those landmarks in that group, you're able to do so right here. So you have to enter at least 4 characters in the name of the landmark group, the landmark, the location ID, which is another piece of when you're setting up a landmark, you would put in a location ID. That's another way to identify your landmark, generally utilized with TMS systems. So you're going to put in a location ID when you're doing a bidirectional talk between Insight and your TMS, and then an asset ID. So if you just want to look up an asset ID, you certainly can do that to see what yard it is located in. Okay, I'm going to go here and I'm going to put in some preset stuff. So there's, I have an underscore as a character here, so SDP, I would hit go. Now this is a quick search, right? So this is, I need to see what's at that landmark right now. I looked up one landmark. And if I was looking in a group though, if there were many in that group, it would tell me how many landmarks were part of the result. There are 3 assets located at this landmark that I looked up. This is the location ID that's associated with that landmark. And I will click on this. I just want to show you the results and what they look like. All right. And these do not have cargo sensors on them, these devices, so they're not going to give me any cargo reply. cargo sensor responses, I apologize. But if you do utilize cargo sensors in your account, so the GXT 5002C is our cargo sensor device. If you're utilizing those, you will get more data in the results. So I'll click on this hyperlink, and over here, I will see the assets that are at that landmark one by one. So again, this is a small grouping that I'm looking at just for purposes of, utilizing this for the training. But if you're looking up a landmark group and say you have 5 landmarks in that group, like I've mentioned, I want to look at my East Coast landmark group. It has 5 yards in it. And then there are, say, 20 trailers at each one of those. This list will get super long, right? It'll tell you how many landmarks are in that group and how many assets are at each one of the landmarks. So you're going to get a lot of information down here. For this purpose, I'm kind of keeping it small so we can look at all this information and kind of go over what it means and what it will mean to you as a result. And please feel free, if your account is set up to you have landmarks and you want to do yard check as I'm doing it, please feel free to open up a browser separate from the webinar and go for it. If you've never used this feature before. So what we're looking at now is the asset ID, which again is clickable. I'll do that in 1 second. The idle time in hours will be below. The cargo status, so it would be the cargo status based on if there's cargo in the asset or not, loaded or empty, sorry. Arrival time at that landmark, last reported time. Is it tethered? If your device is tethered, meaning it plugs into the 7-way, then it would let you know if it's a tethered device, if it's tethered, yes or no, right here. And then here you can see the asset on the map and view asset on Google Map with Street View. So everything here, and I've said this every week, excuse me, you can hover over mostly everything in here and it'll tell you what's going on. So another way to learn, if you're going through it on your own, hover over everything that you see the little finger, that means you can click. So asset ID, this is clickable. And what it brings you to is what you would look and see if you were looking this asset up and you clicked on go, it would give you these results. So this is the last position of this asset. And there is the landmark right there. Just so everyone can see what that looks like. So the information down here that you get, this is pretty basic stuff that everybody knows. When you look up an asset by its asset ID, this is the data that you see at that point. It has opened a separate browser as well. So I can just immediately go back to yard check and there are my results. So anytime that you're doing a quick search, come right in here, use one of the filter criteria. Again, I could put this asset ID right in here and it would give it to me. So as long as I have one of these 4 pieces of information, I can look up an asset. Again, landmark group, landmark, and location ID will give me the entire yard to look at or group of yards. So there's a lot going on here, a lot of information you can garner. Instead of, I'm on the West Coast, I need to know about my East Coast yards, or even if I'm down the street from the yard, this helps me automatically rather than manually. I don't have to call Bob and say, hey, Bob, can you do a manual yard check? I can do that on my own, and Bob can keep doing his job, and whatever it is he does, he doesn't have to walk outside with a clipboard and a pencil and go, yep, oh, I don't know, what's that one over there? Walk over to each one. You can do that on your own right from your desktop. So number 1, help here, quick search. And now we'll go into being able to have this automatically sent to you as a report. So instead of, this is really for on demand, right? So I don't want to call Bob. I'm just going to check my yards, my yard, my asset, whatever. The next place we want to go into here is filters. It looks a little intimidating, I think, just because I put myself in a customer's shoes and say, woof, I don't know what's going on here. So maybe I don't want to be clicking around in here. I encourage everyone, click around, see what's going on. It's the best way to learn. Here is where we're going to do filters by landmark group. See, another reason it's important, landmark name, location ID. All right, so here look up. Now, I knew I was going to come up with a bunch because, of course, I pre-created these, but I want to, again, we can use the group, we can use the landmark name or location ID. I want to look at all of these over. So you can highlight them by using Shift if they're in a row, or Control if you kind of have to jump around while you're clicking. The insight functions just how any other website would with respect to clicking on multiple. If all of the results were what you wanted, you would click this double arrow here and would move them all over. If I have too many, oops, I don't need this one, I can put that back in my list. So utilizing this panel right here is pretty easy. I'd say this is probably the most, these two here are probably the most used in this filter section. You can go landmark type, you can go county, country, excuse me, state. Well, you have to select country first and then city. So you have other searching criteria. And then there are advanced filters like we had talked about. When I want to look at this report, I'm going to utilize my advanced filters if I have that capability within the device, which is empty or loaded, empty and loaded here. If I have the cargo sensor, I only want to look at idle times greater than. I want to look at something that is reported in greater than a week, 2 weeks, 1 month. And if I have a tethered device, again, you have to know what type of device you have. If you're tethered to, tractor trailer tether, the 7-way, then this would be something that would be considered in your equation as well. So once I've selected all my filters, then I want to hit submit. Okay, so I had results on one of them, which is the one that we've already looked at. Let me add this guy back. I think he can give me a little bit more information. It's possible. There we go. I knew that. Okay, so now I have 2 yards that are going to give me some information. So I have the SD Pennsylvania, location ID, the assets there, and then SD Skybits Inc., location ID, and the assets present there. So if I click on any of those, it would do the same thing for me as I looked at on the quick search section. And then we have some information here. We can get landmark details with the little I. You click on that, it'll give you the details of the landmark, meaning the address and all the information that goes along with this landmark itself. So what I want to do at this point is I want to get a report based on this, or I want to be able to email this right now to somebody. So what I want to do, instead of submit and reset, I'm going to move over here to save, which is, away from those other 2. Reset is if I want to run this again and get different results or look at different landmark names. But I'm going to hit save here because I want to do more with this information than just view it right here on the screen. So this is going to be my yards today. You can call it whatever you want. I hit save. And then it's going to bring me to the next tab. So it automatically does that. I don't have to move over to saved reports. Okay, so saved reports is doing 2 things. Right now, I just created. Let's go back here. I'm going to do this again. All right. So we'll do report, we'll do yard check for today and hit save. Okay, there it is. I wouldn't misspell my name. So if I did that, that's not how I spell my name. So this is the one I just created, right? And it tells me that right here, we're a little off on the date. I think in my preferences setting, I need to go to Eastern Standard because that's where I'm located. But this is the saved report that I just created. So nothing's really going on with it right now. If I click on it, I would see the results that I saw back in filters. My last change date, that's today. And then action here, we have 2 different actions. I can download the CSV file, meaning the actual results of yard check for today. And then I can also email it to somebody right here. So if I just kind of one off on this one, I just want to download it or email it to Bob and say, hey, Bob, I just checked the yard. Here's what's in these yards. Just confirm, and Bob says, okay, looks great, or send it to a customer or send it to whomever you need to. The report comes out looking like this. So it'll give you the group that it belongs to, the landmark name that it's in, any location IDs that are associated, state, country, asset ID, idle time, if there is a cargo status associated, so empty or loaded, the arrival into the landmark, and the last reported time. And again, tethered not, only getting this data and this data if you have that specific type of device. So I can email that information. Just look at it. If I'm looking at it for myself, you don't necessarily have to download it, but you see the information on the screen. But so there are a few actions you can take right here. And then if I like this report and I want to have it emailed to me on a schedule, I need to come over here to schedule your saved reports here. We want the task to be enabled because we want to actually schedule this and make this happen. I want to call it my daily yard check. And I need to pick which one of my saved reports that I'm going to have in this task, emailed. So I'll pick yard, I think I really must have spelled my name wrong. So yard check for today, the email address is that this will be going to. So I can email it to folks that need to know what assets daily are at these yards that I've selected. So what I picked in my filters, the resulting landmarks, that email will then be sent on my schedule. Whatever assets are in those landmarks, those numbers are going to change. If you remember, when I ran the report, I picked about 5 landmarks, but I only showed 2 landmarks with assets in them. It's really important for me to make everyone understand that that was just the result for right now. When this report is then run on a daily basis, a weekly basis, whatever you're going to pick, and we'll get there in 1 second, the results at that time is what you're going to see. So if assets are moving out of those other 2 that showed they had them and into new of the ones that I'd selected in that filters page, assets are moving in there, they're going to show up on the report. So this is a dynamic report in that it's going to take into consideration all of the landmarks that I had filtered on this prior page on my schedule and basically give you the results that say, here's what's in there now. So the device has to report within the landmark for it to be there. So, if it's been sitting around for a couple of days and hasn't done its check-in, it will show up on its check-in, not before then though, just to make sure everybody's also clear on that point. So all that talking just to say and show you how to schedule the report. So the email addresses will go in here. I want to schedule this daily. I'd like to see every day what's going on in those landmarks that I had selected. And start time, so you can do the time picker. The time picker right here will allow you in military time to select when you would like to see them. You can pick the hours and the minutes that you would like to include here on your schedule. And when do I want to start this? Do I want to start today? Do I want to start it Friday? Do I want to start Sunday? Whatever, I'm getting this daily, so if I started it tomorrow, that would be good enough. And if I need to end this, because say these are transient type locations, we're doing projects at these locations, and I'm not always going to need to monitor them and receive emails based on them, then I would want to end it. But if it's something, if they're your company yards, you're obviously going to want to know about them for as long as you need to know about them. So an end date really is kind of like a project-based thing. So it allows you to say, hey, cut this when we're done. We're not going to be there anymore after, December 25th. I don't want to get this email again, because then what you'll be getting is a blank report. So then you hit save. Let me take that off. Oops. I guess that helps. I'd like to say that I do that every week to make sure everyone sees that if you make a mistake, that you will get a pop-up that says you need to put something in there. I'll hit save. And it's going to wait. I just want to show you the results. So again, what I just did, I didn't do it on purpose, but normally if you're missing a important piece of information and Insight needs that in order for you to save something or do something, you will get a pop-up. And my pop-up said, I kind of dealt with it quickly. It said you need a valid email address to send this to. So when we're setting up the yard check that's going to be emailed to me every day, I have to, put in the email, or else I really wouldn't need to schedule a report to be sent to me. So all of those pieces of information need to be filled in, and it's going to take a minute. So I'm going to go like this and confuse everything. Let's go here, and then we'll go back to yard check. And it's going to yell at me for a second. You can probably go here. I apologize, everybody. I interrupted the process, so it's mad at me now. I just want to show you what happens, and we do have a couple of examples. Let me throw up my little marker here so I can get this to work down here. I apologize, everybody. So what it's doing is it's putting that into, it's letting the database know, hey, we're going to start sending this report out daily to Sarah. And I will get back in here in a second. I just really think it's important to show yard check. I don't necessarily know that it's underutilized, but I do know that every customer that I deal with or have talked to can utilize this report. So, and I know that, number one, not everybody uses it, and they should. That I think if you get in there, create your landmarks, make sure that they're all set up correctly, make some landmark groups that make sense. So what landmarks go together, and then name them that group. And then, get some yard checks in. You don't have to have them emailed to you right away. What you can do, and I'm back in business, apologize, hopefully. There we go. So to further what I was saying, just come in there and, do some quick searches, run some, filters to get these saved reports, so that you can then end up with a report that shows you and possibly, the other folks that you work with, hey, we really should be utilizing this instead of going outside and, counting the assets and looking at them manually that way. So, it failed because I wasn't patient, but the next runtime would show up here. So these are scheduled reports that already existed. This one was mine right here that is not going to run because I was not patient with it. So I can, I can look at this task, and I can also, look at the report name. So the task name is the actual email that's being sent of the report that I selected from up here. The last run time will show the last run, did it happen? The next run time, it'll show you what time that will be. And then is it running? No. Actions right here is we can run it right now so that I can get the results of that report. And then also I can edit it. So I can change the criteria. I can change everything over here if I need to. And if I don't want to get it anymore, I can hit delete. So that's what happens after you turn one of these saved reports into a task. It becomes a scheduled emailed report. Then there is one more section. So there's exclude assets. And assets to exclude, you may want to exclude assets from the yard check. Some are dedicated to a specific customer that isn't in your area of responsibility, or isn't unusable or isn't usable right now for a reason. So it's an extended maintenance. Maybe you're about to out process a trailer and you just really, it's going to be in that yard check every day. You can exclude assets from yard checks, and you can exclude them from all users or just for yourself. So when you're in here and you're creating yard checks, you're doing this for yourself. But if you're kind of the person, the point of contact, and you don't want anybody to be getting this asset in your reporting, then you can exclude it for all users of the account. So, there are different reasons that you may want to do that, but yeah, I know that trailer 123 is at Yard Main Street because it's going to be there for another couple months because we're getting rid of it. It's being serviced. I don't want it on my yard check. It's not consumable data. It doesn't help me with my process. So again, yard checks, I'm gonna, kind of just review real quick because we went through the yard check and what it is, how to set it up, how you can get emails sent to you on a schedule. Really important. It takes the clipboard and the pencil out of somebody's hands. It frees up time, depending on the size of yards and the amount of assets you have in any yard at any given time. This can free up a lot of time for somebody. So please consider coming in, setting up your landmarks. You don't have to, but it makes it much easier in order to group these landmarks and run yard checks on them. But if you come in here and just play around with it, I think you'll see some value. Even if it just saves 10 minutes of your time, 20 minutes of Bob's time, people are able to be more productive and get other things done, because Insight is a powerful tool in that it automates many manual processes that companies engage in every day. And it's just an automatic, right? Bob goes out every morning at 6 o'clock and checks the yard. So does Steve and so does Joe. So those 3 yards, give them their time back and let them do something else. Have an email sent. Steve, Bob, and Joe's yards, they're coming to them in the morning. They're coming to you as a group. Play around with it. And if you need help with any of the setup of the landmarks, again, there are videos, and I'm going to get to that shortly, on how to set those up. Call customer care, reach out to your CSM, let us know if you need help. Please just, that's an important piece of this puzzle, the yard check puzzle. So I am going to talk about the asset view section. There are a few items that I wanted to talk about here prior to the questions. I just want to show everybody some sections of the website. And if you have questions about yard checks, please, again, you can put them in the chat. You can, once I get to that, it's a couple minutes, and I'm just going to review a few items that I'd like everybody to know about. Ask some questions about yard check. If you have further questions, I will be putting up customer care's phone number and email address toward the end of the section. But here's where I want to show you some pieces of insight that exist, so that not everybody knows about, but pretty cool features. So I went to the Locate Assets Asset View section to show you this section right here. It's called Show Me How. It presents itself as Show Me How. It's going to walk you through different sections of the website. Whenever you see this sorry, I keep doing that. Whenever you see this box right here, click it. What it's going to do is it's going to walk you through sections that you may not be familiar with, sections that are newer. This is a newer part of the user interface. So what this is doing right here is telling you how to use it. Sometimes it's just going to give you some directions, and it'll tell you how many steps of this there are. So there's going to be some instructional and directions. So I'm going to click next here. Here it's telling me to do something. So if you follow through with what it's telling you to do, then it'll go to the next step and give you the results. But it's showing you how to use this piece of the site. So, in conjunction with the videos, the training videos that we have, the training Tuesdays that are being recorded, we have Show Me How here. That's going to walk you through sections of the website. Wherever you see it, click it. And then we also have, I'll close this guy up. We also have help section, of course. So this help section's been here. It's very helpful, and it gives you 24/7 access to information about Skybits, about Insight, about anything that you may need to know off hours, right? So Sunday afternoon, you're working and you're utilizing the site and you might need some help, or you want to register for the next Training Tuesdays, you can do that right here. The help section is movable, so if you pick him up, you can drag him into these little boxes, only where the boxes are. Can't just plop it in the middle. Not that you would, but you can't do that. but when you log out and back in, it will default to its original location. So if you click on help, up pops a menu. It's really neat, just pops right back down when you're done with it. Training Tuesdays registration is right here. Any of the walkthroughs are here as well. We have the installation and troubleshooting guides, which is also going to take you to the resource center. This is where you'll find information on any of the devices that you have that are in your account, how to install them, any troubleshooting information you might need. There are a lot of PDFs in this section. And there's also the information on the mobile app in here. So I just want to go, because last week I went over installing devices. Mobile app information is in this resource center. So if you hit mobile app, all types, install, here is the mobile app user's guide. The mobile app, and I'm just going to touch on it real quick, the login information for the mobile app is not the same as your Insight login, so you'd have to reach out to your CSM or to Care to get one. But that's where the information is on how to use the mobile app, especially if you're involved with installations of a product, of the devices. You want to have the mobile app and utilize it in within your company. And more information, the current release information, if there's anything previously that we've released, it'll give you information here. Training Tuesdays are down here. That's where we house them once they're recorded. And you can also find them on YouTube. Training videos that we've made in the past, any webinar videos we've made in the past, and contact us are right here. So that's how you can find out some more information, 24/7 help. As long as you're logged in the Insight, you have access to all of that. And let me go to here. So here is information on how to contact customer care. And this is the last 15 minutes, close to maybe a little bit more. We have 20 minutes, but won't hold you here if there aren't any questions. But right now would be a perfect time for questions on yard checks. I don't see any hands raised. I think yard check is a pretty straightforward section of the website. So I definitely, think just rolling through it. If you've never used it, it's pretty easy to use. I hope maybe some people were following along in their instance of Insight logged in. If not, please give it a shot. It's really, really helpful. It's a very basic tool, but it gives back so much time. It empowers people, it gives them time back. So I'd say get in there, utilize yard check. If you have questions about setting up the landmarks, which is preferred prior to using yard check, please call us, reach out. Here's customer care's number. Again, customer success manager, email, whatever you need to do. Ask the question now, that would be fine. So if there aren't any questions, I don't see any. I have no problem giving people their time back. I would like to thank everyone for attending the session today. Again, as I've mentioned, these sessions are about you, our partners, and helping you leverage the powerful tools provided. Even in the simplicity of yard check, it's a powerful tool. If you have any recommendations or ideas for future session content, please let us know, and we would be happy to put that together. So I'm also going to mention we have 2 weeks left of Training Tuesdays. The invitation has 1 week left. Next week, we are going to be talking about trailer pools, another section of the Insight that really everybody should utilize, as long as you have trailer pools within your business model. But we do have 2 weeks left of Training Tuesdays. The very last week, we're going to send a separate invitation. We will be reviewing the SkyBits roadmap. And my colleague, Debbie Sackman, will be reviewing that. And I'm sure everybody is super interested in hearing about new and exciting things that we're offering at SkyBits, hardware and software related. So we will, again, send a separate invitation. We have to validate This is confidential information for our customers, so we would like to make sure that those attending the session are validated. So you'll get that email, and it'll be separate. So next week, October 20th, we will be here, same time, same place. And again, just so you're aware, trailer pools will be the topic. And any questions on yard checks, going once, twice, 3 times? I want to thank everyone for attending today and enjoy the rest of your week.